Hello and welcome to DeFeet World. This is the podcast where we explore the two-wheeled lifestyle, talking to the people whose lives revolve around bicycles. We look at the culture of the sport, the great brands, and we talk about the machines and the gear that are all part of it. DeFeet is bringing you this podcast. We are a small company of skilled craftspeople from the Blue Ridge Mountain region of North Carolina, where we've been making the finest socks and accessories for cycling and the two-wheeled lifestyle for over 26 years. So as a valued listener of these podcasts, we usually mention a code. There won't be a code in this particular episode because we already have a code that's live from the previous two episodes. So listen to episode 1 or 2. That code is going to be good through October 5th, 2018. Okay, the first thing I'm going to touch on today is an article that was written by Neil Rogers, popular cycling columnist. He's very good. Wrote an article for cyclingtips.com titled U.S. Road Racing is in a Downward Spiral. What comes next? So I was reading this while watching the Women's Elite World Road Race Championship in Innsbruck, Austria, and several things came to mind. There was a Colombian female rider off the front when I tuned in, Ana Cristina Sanabria Sanchez. She did a great ride. She's one of 3 women on the Colombian national team that was in the event. I thought that's a big change in itself. Colombian women represented like that on the international level. There was a time in the not too distant past when Colombian cycling was really in the dumps. And that came after a massive spike in Colombian professional riding popularity that really built through the 1980s. With the arrival of the Postobon team, the Café de Colombia team at the Tour de France, professionals went to Spanish teams like Kelme and Once, Fabio Parra and Oliverio Rincon, very successful riders. I raced the Tour of Colombia as a 2-week-long stage race throughout the whole country in 1989, and the love for cycling in that country was just at an absolute frenzy. And shortly after that, by the mid-90s, cycling looked like it was dead or dying. And now we see this revival with the Colombian women on the tails of Nairo Quintana, who has won the Giro d'Italia, he contests very well at the Tour de France. And now we see a Colombian cycling that's very much been revived. Colombia has a field sprinter in Fernando Gaviria. We have some audio from Fernando Gaviria that I'll post later on in this podcast. But what I'm getting at is that it's normal to have these ups and downs, particularly in a sport like cycling, because professional cycling teams are not franchises. It's not the New England Patriots and the Dallas Cowboys. It's not the Milwaukee Brewers. It is corporate money flowing into these teams that funds a group of riders that can travel the world and go to big events. Then there's also corporate money that has to go into the events to make those happen. So the U.S. is experiencing a decline in both of these things right now. But does that mean that it's the end? I don't think so. It's simply in another state of flux. So the Elite Women's World Championship today was won by Anna van der Breggen. So she adds a World Championship road race to her Olympic title, Tour of Flanders, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Incredibly successful female rider, historic. And that also got me thinking about the elements that go into cycling in any given country. And I broke it down to 3 main components. There's bicycle racing, there's society, which is how a country's population interacts with bicycles, and then there's economics. In other words, where is the money flowing? So if we look at each of those 3 areas right now in the United States, we'll take bike racing. Okay, it's on the decline. We agree there. Events are dwindling. And for some people, that's more concerning than teams shutting down. In society, we have to ask, is the population getting out on the roads and paths and trails in larger numbers? How are people interacting with the bicycle in their daily lives? Do they feel safe on the road? Do they feel like they want their kids out on the road? What's happening to cycling in society in the United States? And then we look at the economy in the United States and ask, where is the money flowing? And what we see investment occurring in cycling unlike anything that's ever occurred before. So instead of money flowing to, say, professional cycling teams or events, money is flowing through Uber and Lyft ride-sharing platforms into things like Lime Bike and scooter sharing or human mobility at billion-dollar valuations. So these companies are betting that our society is going to utilize human mobility to a very high degree in metropolitan inner city areas to get from train stations to bus stops to work, or someone else then rents that bicycle or scooter to get wherever they're going. I think these are great things, but it is unquestionably a change in how investment is occurring in cycling in the United States right now. And that may be affecting the overall bike racing picture to a larger degree. It won't last forever. My point in bringing up Colombian cycling was to point out how bike racing had reached a fever pitch in Colombia back in the late 1980s, mid to late 1980s, almost completely disappeared in the 90s during the EPO era and early 2000s, and is now coming back stronger than ever. In Dutch cycling, where you have an incredibly robust cycling culture, cycling society, the investment in cycling never really dwindled. They've had their ups and downs, but it's always been at a fairly high level, higher than in the United States, which continues to this day, which is borne out in the results of their national team and Anna van der Breggen. And that's to be expected when you have maybe not as strong of an economy as the United States, but much stronger societal element in cycling in Holland, and much greater awareness of bike racing in Holland. All right, I just wanted to touch on that. That was how my morning went, watching another exciting day of racing in Innsbruck, Austria. Looking forward to the professional men's elite race tomorrow. So getting on to the rest of the show, today we talk to Dave Kause, and I'm going to post a section of an interview that I actually filmed between that Dave performed with Fernando Gaviria.
Hello, I am Fernando Gaviria from Quickstep. I'm DeFeet.
At the Tour of California earlier this year, and I never posted it, and I really apologize to Dave and Fernando for not getting that up earlier, but I filmed it at such a dark point in the evening that my camera settings made for a really grainy look, and it just didn't look good. So that's why I'm going to use some of the video, or I'm sorry, that's why I'm going to use some of the audio here as opposed to video. But I wanted to do this to show Fernando Gaviria, such a cool, free spirit young rider, practically without inhibition at all. The way that he rides his bike, the way that he attacks the sprints. He was in the yellow jersey at the Tour de France earlier this year, and it's great to see him making this effort to speak English during these interviews. So I really gotta tip the hat to Fernando Gaviria. We're very proud to have him in DeFeet socks, and we always look forward to watching him ride his bike. He's one of the most exciting riders in the world today. So without further ado, here's the interview. All right, so I'm sitting here with Dave Kause. Is that how you say your name? Kause?
Kause. And in German, it's
German
Kause.
Kause. Dave Kause.
Yeah.
And you are a paramedic?
Yes, sir.
In Sacramento.
In Sacramento. I'm a program director for a school out in Davis, on-site medical service. I started the school about 10 years ago with a good friend of mine, and that's my day job.
But cycling is really your passion, because I know you as the liaison for the Quickstep professional team when they come to the United States.
Correct, yes. I've been doing that. God, I was talking to somebody the other day about that. Almost 8 years now. I met Wilfred Peters at Tour of California when they were first coming, and it's been a great relationship ever since.
So do you think being how did you come to cycling in the first place?
So in high school, I was kind of like the all-arounder. I played a little bit of baseball, tried out a little bit of football, loved basketball, loved volleyball, but I wanted to get into something. I had a knee injury. So the doc said, hey, why don't you try getting on a bicycle? So that started in about '86, and I kind of became to love cycling because I watched the Tour de France, and when Greg LeMond was kind of doing his triumphant win for that year, it really kind of just got me motivated, and I wanted to go fast. I wanted to pedal. I was a BMX rider before that, and it seemed like a good fit.
Yeah, well, it's working for you. You must ride a lot. You look like a cyclist. You're maybe not a beanpole, but you're clearly fit, and you do quite a bit of riding.
I do. I still ride as much as I possibly can. It's off season now, so I'm more in the gym, and actually I've taken up tennis again.
Oh, that lovely. Well, we need to hit. I love tennis.
Oh man, anytime. I love it too. Yeah.
A lot of cyclists do that in the off season. It's always one of my favorite things to do. Nice to get some lateral movement,
Right.
and a little bit of pounding. It's good for your skeleton, and that lateral movement that you don't get from cycling.
Yeah, it's such a linear
Plus,
sport.
you came from ball sports, so
Yeah.
seeing that,
Right.
I like doing the math in your head with playing with the ball is pretty fun.
It is that hand-to-eye coordination. As we get older, I think we kind of lose that a little bit. So to be able to keep that going, I think that kind of thing keeps your mind sharp.
Absolutely, for sure. And when you for cycling, being able to do something that's not so cardiovascular based. Oh, there we go. We got it. So that announcement is from us being at Interbike.
Yes.
So you like to show up at Interbike to just make the rounds?
Well, I show up to Interbike. I've been coming for the past bazillion years for various different reasons. But so Seasucker, Chuck Casagrande has become a really good friend of mine, and I've been doing some stuff with them. And then obviously you guys, I've been doing some stuff with you.
I really I like Chuck as well. It's a great product, Seasucker.
I like to support good people and good products. That's what I'm all about.
Well, you've definitely done that for DeFeet, and thank you for being such a great brand ambassador for us.
Anytime, absolutely.
Why
my
do you
pleasure.
do it?
Well, with DeFeet, it's knowing what a product is and getting it out there and getting people's knowledge about what a product is. Because there's 1,000 different sock companies out there, but it seems like a lot of them are just making a sock to look cool. But there is a definite part to it with how it fits, how it sits in the shoe, how it doesn't move on your foot when you're moving laterally when you're playing tennis or when you're doing linear, keeping your feet cool, you're not getting hot foot. Those are all things that need to be considered when wearing a sock. And you guys cover every single bit and more of that.
Well, thanks. Yeah, those are all key factors for us. And like for us, it's I think you've been really good at building relationships, and you show up, and you've been at this show every year since I met you.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Quickstep likes having you involved as well.
Right. I try to keep everybody happy, and when somebody needs something, if I'm able to do it, I will go above and beyond because that's who I am. I'm a people pleaser, and I will not deny that. A lot of times too with people pleasers though that you tend to go a little bit beyond what you really should, and so that's my personal fault is I go sometimes way above when I really don't need to go that far.
Well, it's the nature of it, right?
Yeah.
You're always
agreed.
It's hard to be right at the optimal spot. Like in a relationship, you're sometimes doing more than the other person or a little less. But yeah, I agree. You are consistently above the bar.
Do my best. And I love you guys because anytime I ever need something, you guys, there's never no, we can't do that, this and that. It's like whatever you need, I got you covered. And so I try to do that as best I can for you guys when I have the opportunity to. For any of these bike races that you're at, like Tour California, or maybe if you come over to the Classics, we can go do some stuff with the team, etc. Always try to make sure that you're in the loop.
Yeah, we are talking about getting over to Europe for the Spring Classics, the Paris-Roubaix, Tour of Flanders, a couple of weeks there. We'll see if we can pull that together.
Love to do it. Love to go with you guys.
We're a sock and accessory manufacturer, but we do love the content side of it, and we're in cycling out of pure love for the sport.
Right.
And we want to lay down, that is such a huge part of our legacy that it would be important for us to kind of put a flag in the ground, so to speak, in Northern Europe and the Flanders region.
Yeah, I think so.
That was really, we're from the United States, but that's such a part of our heritage. So hopefully we can pull that together.
I would hope to. I would love to see that. I've done the Paris-Roubaix Fondo 2 years in a row now, and Flanders last year as well, and I'm telling you,
they do sections of the...
They do the entire thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to revisit it. I rode Paris-Roubaix in the early 90s. I finished on the Roubaix Velodrome several times as an amateur, but finally I got to ride the Paris-Roubaix professionally in the early 90s, and that was a lifelong kind of bucket list thing for me to do the race. And it was kind of a dry year, which was a little bit of a disappointment, and You know, when I was young, it was always my favorite race, but then as I got older, it turned out to be not a race that my skill set was very well suited for, you know.
Right.
Not exactly a huge crosswind, you know, flatland, rough road pounder. But it would be interesting to go back there and revisit those roads.
There's probably a lot of memories, I would imagine, for you. A lot of things will come back.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, Mr. Johan Museo, when I was over there the last time, he had made a comment. He's coming over in October to, I think, Sacramento to do a fondo that they have out here, which is pretty amazing to me. When I was speaking with him.
Do you know what fondo?
It's the Folsom Bike Fondo, the Sierra Fondo, or something like that. But he's coming out here to do that. So I think that would be a really good opportunity to get with him. And he said if we needed anything, you guys or myself needed anything when we go over there, he's happy to take us on any of the rides and do some, you know, video and talk about the sections and so forth.
I bring that up with him. We just connected on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Of all places, which is
pretty
funny. I used to race with Johan back at that time when he was unbeatable in the early 90s. And I couldn't have imagined, like, this time just connecting over something like LinkedIn is kind of funny.
Yeah, he's an amazing individual. He's a really fun individual.
So getting back to, like you brought up Folsom, you know, you're from Sacramento. Northern California cycling community is very dear to me. That's where I got my start in the grassroots programs in Northern California. And how do you see it now, like the community in NorCal?
So I was just talking with a couple of the other DeFeet guys here about this. I see a big transition from road to gravel and mountain bike. There's a lot of gravel, there's a lot of cyclocross, and there's a lot of mountain bike.
So you are seeing a movement like back toward mountain bike?
100%.
Any particular discipline in mountain bike?
I think a lot of it has to do with cross country. I think there's a lot of cross country.
Really?
Yeah. I know a few of the schools up in the Roseville, Rockland area, they actually have mountain bike teams at these schools.
Yeah, well, NICA, you know, got its start there in NorCal. And so do you think that NICA is driving that?
I think NICA's driving that. I think there's just a big movement up in the Sierra foothills to go more mountain biking, because you have to think about the availability of road riding these days. You know, there's being on the road, let's just be honest, it's unsafe to be around cars. People don't care, which is unfortunate. You can do everything, you can wear helmets, you can have lights, but people, for whatever reason, don't pay attention, don't really care about cyclists. Yes, we have a really nice bike trail that goes from Discovery Park in Sacramento all the way up to Folsom Lake and maybe a little bit beyond. But where are these road cyclists going to train and feel safe? The answer is you're not 100% safe.
Yeah.
You're really not.
And it's so much driven, that unsafe factor just driven by these mobile devices, I think. I mean,
agreed.
And also more population, you know, higher density.
Right, you're seeing a big movement from the Bay Area up to Sacramento now, because you know the tech is starting to now get really popular in Sacramento. See all these people moving up.
Yeah, the companies need to look for less expensive places for their employees to live, for their own expenses. California in general seems to be kind of overregulated in that way, and it's starting to become a little alarming to corporations and a lot of people.
Right. You have those Silicon Valley folks that are down there, and just all these. It's, you know, you see this big influx of technology and startup companies now. And these startup companies are making money, and then all of a sudden now you have all these people moving in, and like you said, the area becomes way more dense. So there's really no real room for cyclists to ride, because there are so many cars on the road.
And then you've got something like Zwift taking off,
which is great.
I agree. I'd like to talk to those guys at some point. You know, Mike McCarthy, an old teammate of mine.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he's, I think he's an excellent business developer, and I think he's been great for Zwift.
He's doing some Masters races. Actually, it was either this year or last year.
World Championships, right? Yeah, we got him some socks, and. I mean, that's a guy who gets back on the bike. He's going to be world champion as a Masters.
He's awesome.
Sure.
That guy's an amazing individual. I mean, there's a lot of really good Masters riders out there when you think about it. because they know how to train and they train smart, like what you're talking about Zwift and other things too, and they have day jobs. So it's I like the idea of being on Zwift because it can actually allow you to get a really good workout in a short amount of time. You don't have to spend 3-4 hours on the bike.
Yeah, Rich Carney is a new hire for us at DeFeet. He's in his mid 50s or so, and he's so sold on. He's addicted to it.
I'm looking towards that right now with my future ahead of me here. I'm going to have to find something that's going to allow me to ride the bike and still be able to cram in 10, 12 hours a day of work and school.
Daylight savings is making me look at Zwift again.
Right?
Yeah.
It's perfect though. It's perfect. And you're probably quite busy as well with DeFeet and everything else you have going on.
Kids and all sorts of stuff. So, is there any place that our listenership can find you? Anything? I know you do a podcast of your own sometimes.
So we do this thing called the Left Turn, and basically we have a website. It's actually a web streaming. It's on Facebook as well. But we basically just kind of do review of products, and we do Northern California cycling. We talk about clubs, rides that are in Northern California, any fondos that are coming up, bike races, anything about having to do with juniors. We send them to a specific guy by the name of Josh Flood, who's really active with growing the junior ranks as far as mountain biking, cyclocross, and road cycling. We're trying to get kids motivated to do this sport, because if we don't, the sport's just going to die. And I would hate to see that happen.
I've said a lot of times, when I was a kid in Northern California, the size of the junior fields was incredible. Easily 150 kids or more, sometimes closer to 200, and it was so competitive. But that's what made it spectacular sport to do as a kid.
Fun, and you love to see these junior kids get out there and ride hard. I love it. It's almost literally better sometimes for me than watching like the Tour de France on TV.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. So, did you have a website, or that was your YouTube channel?
It's leftturn.com.
TheLeftTurn.com.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, that was Dave Kause.
Kause.
Well, thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much, Paul, and I'll be here all week.
Have a good show.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, my name is Fernando Gaviria Rendon.
Okay.
I'm from Colombia, and now I ride for Quickstep Floor.
And how many years now have you ridden for them?
For Quickstep, this is the third year.
Third year?
And in the cycling, 9.
9 years?
Yeah.
What team were you with prior to Quickstep?
Now in the national team from Colombia and the small teams there.
Okay, so that brings me to a really good question. In Colombia, is cycling a big sport?
Yeah, in Colombia, the cycling is the really big sport. I think is the most important sport now in Colombia.
Okay, and you being your specialty is sprinting. How did you get to where you are with sprinting? Is that something you thought about you wanted to do, or is that something you fell into?
No, me always in my head, I can win, I won't win. But in Colombia it's difficult, really difficult. You win in the climb because it's a lot of riders really strong for the climb, and I try in the track, I try in the flat stage, and this start my way in the sprint. Year past year, better and better. Like this now, I am in one really nice team.
Yeah, Quickstep is quite a big team. I mean, they have over 30 wins this year already. Some of them thanks to you. And give us kind of a little bit of some of your past wins, like the past couple of years, some big ones that you've had. What were they?
What?
The wins that you've had, like the Giro. How many stages did you win in the Giro?
Yeah, in the past, I win 4 stages in the Giro. I won 4 stages in China, 2 stages in Tirreno. It's a lot of wins, but always I want more. Always I want win one more. I try, and I training for the one day when they take the rainbow jersey, when they take the one big classic, I training for this.
So you want to be an all-arounder, but your specialty is sprinting.
Yep.
You want to be able to win anything, which is quite a big challenge. I mean, when you think about some of these past riders, a big challenge for you is to be able to do everything, like be a sprinter and winning climbing races or something like that. You know what I mean? It seems to be that you have a lot of goals. You want to do a lot.
I don't understand this.
So a lot of goals, like you want to win bigger stages,
Yep.
bigger races.
Yep.
You want to be here, but you also want to be here. So you're always going for more.
Yeah, for the sprinters is always it's possible win more and more. For the climbers, I think in the tour is finish is the top. You win the tour is the top.
Yeah.
But for one sprinter, you win one stage in the tour, you can win one big classic, and this always is you can go more up.
Right. You kind of have that fire inside of you, like there's just one more thing you want to do.
Yeah, always you want more, and you prepare for take the more respect in the peloton.
Right. So when you're ready to sprint, you're 3K out, you have your lead out team there, what's going through your head when you have all these guys around you?
Yeah, I try only focus in my team because is my edge in front. Always I behind Max Ricese because is not only my lead out, is my friend, is really good guy, and is always in the room with me, and like this is important. I only follow him.
Right, and he's the guy that's going to get you through that hole so you can shoot through and hopefully get the victory.
Yeah. Sometimes in one day in Switzerland, in the one corner really difficult, him go in front and then no possible pass, him win.
Right. So let's go to time trialing now. Is that something that you're preparing for, like getting better at as far as the individual time trial? Because they have one for the Amgen Tour of California this year.
Yeah, but now I am really focused in the sprint because now a lot of riders for the sprint and for the for the.
Nope, your fire didn't go out. Don't worry about that. And it's back on again. So
Okay.
yeah, you were saying you just focus on the sprint and not so much the time trial.
Yeah, not too much for the time trial because it's a lot rider for the sprint. I think it's better focusing only in the sprint because I go training more in the time trial, but it's possible go better there.
Right.
But in the sprint maybe I go less. It's too dangerous, I think.
Yeah. So when there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders being the team sprinter. I mean, they get you where you need to be, and then you got to finish it off. So when we're talking about pressure, are there things that you do to calm yourself down to get you focused? Like maybe you meditate before, maybe you take some time alone, maybe you listen to a certain kind of music that kind of gets you going and getting you ready for the race. Like, tell me about some of the things that you do to prepare.
Yeah, I put music or I speak with my teammates and I try to relax because in some time is a lot of stress in the team. You need the victory or like that. It's too difficult, but with my friend it's too easy. It's like in one family.
Yeah.
It's the good atmosphere in
Yeah.
the team, and like this all is more easy.
Because I notice you and Max Ricese, you guys are always together. Like, you sit with each other when you're eating. You guys sit with each other when we're just hanging out. I mean, you guys are always together, and I think that's great.
Yeah, always the team is like one family. Always is all together because like this is more easy. The cycling, you need the whole team, only the riders. You need the mechanics, the machine, the everything for the victory. It's really difficult to take one victory. This team is always try to the victory, try for the going front or like that. Is this really important?
And sometimes things happen, like, you know, let's say, I don't want to, not to, you know, jinx the race, but crashes happen, things like that. Those are things that you can't avoid. You know, somebody goes down in front of you or so forth. Does that stick with you at all, or you just kind of, hey, that's part of my job, and you move on from that? Like, is there?
Yeah, but in the one crash, you don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you can come back in the peloton. Maybe you can try for the sprint, but the whole crash is really different. You know, if it's difficult, but sometimes you can come back to the peloton and then you go to the sprint. But if you cannot, they change the plan.
Right. So when you first started cycling, who got you into cycling? What did you watch? Was there a person that you kind of wanted to mentor after or follow after? Like, who's the person that got you into bicycle racing? What made you get into bicycle racing? What made you get into racing a bicycle? Like, why did you want to race a bicycle? Why did you want to do it for your job or your sport? Why did you want to ride a bicycle? What made you do that? What did you see a race? Did you see a bike race and say, hey, I want to race a bicycle? Or was it something that you saw on TV? Did you watch a local race and say, hey, I want to get into that? Like, what age did you start racing a bicycle?
Paris-Roubaix.
Okay. Very young age?
Yeah. When I started the cycling, I see a lot of cycling. I see the Giro, the Tour, the Vuelta, also Paris-Roubaix. But this race for me is the most beautiful race. I always say want to stay there.
Yeah. And you like California?
Yes, for sure. I like all cycles, all races, because I like the cycling, but the country is not the more important.
Yeah.
I go with my bike. I am happy.
Yeah. And you were just recently with Peter Sagan up in Tahoe training a little bit?
Yeah, with Peter now he's my friend, I think. This week I training with him 2-3 days in Lake Tahoe, and then I speak a lot because living in Monaco also. And then he's a really good guy because for me is the really strong guy. 3 times World Championships is too hard, but he's one really nice guy. I am happy for him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. He brings a lot to the sport. He brings a lot of fun, a lot of humor, a lot of things that we haven't seen in a long time in cycling. And you bring another element to the sport yourself, though. You're bringing a sprint that is absolutely incredible. I mean, people are looking to you here at the Amgen Tour of California to do it.
Yeah, Peter take the more focus because it's the different.
Yeah.
All the cyclists is like this, always the same direction. But Peter is the crazy guy.
He is.
But crazy and also focused. Him maybe one day going the mountain bike, or not always the same. He's really nice, and also I think here is really nice for the sprint. I think here is all the sprinters go to the Tour. Yeah. Now is the first part before the Tour because it's really nice race. It's possible for the sprinter, possible for the climbers, and this is the nice.
Yeah, really nice. So I got one last question for you. Favorite thing in America, what is it? Could be a food, it could be anything. What is your favorite thing in America? What do you like?
Everything.
Great answer. Great answer.
Yeah, it's really good. It's close
Yeah.
to my house.
Yeah.
It's a lot South Americans here, but it's really nice. Always is good, but for me it's too difficult for the language.
Yeah. You get there.
But okay, also it's good because like that I practice.
Yeah.
Okay, and then.
And I imagine your family back home is watching you. They'll be watching you on TV, right?
Yeah, my father come to here, I think tomorrow.
Oh, excellent.
And also, for sure, my mother watch the TV for me.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, Fernando, thank you very much.
Okay.
I will see you probably tomorrow morning on the bike.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry for my English, but
It's perfect. I love it. I love it.
I try.
All right, so that's it for this show, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be posting several new shows that we record at Interbike in Reno, Nevada, and those will all be posted in the coming weeks, so make sure to follow along. So until next time, stay on your bike and stay tuned.